Hello everyone and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this our January 29th, 2024 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including the news that just dropped. Supergirl has been cast for the DC Studios new movie universe. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking, I finally did get to see Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. We'll talk about that briefly. We've got other stuff going on about Superman Legacy. And we're also going to talk about what's happening in the world of comic books. We've got our monthly segments to do because we're at the end of the month, the end of the last show for January. So we've got fan favorite segment, the super secret soundbite, and this week in history. So plenty to get through this week. And joining me once again this week is my good friend Mark Lax. Hey, Mark.
Hello, Steve. How you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Okay.
Very good. Back in the kitchen.
Back in the kitchen, yep.
Excellent. So what's for dinner?
For dinner, you know what? Chinese food.
Okay. Very good. Do you cook?
No, I do. I really don't cook, and I'm getting a lot of takeout because single guy, and I don't cook, and
Fair enough.
I just getting too much takeout. But yeah, I have some Chinese, some good Chinese.
Very good. Excellent. Well, tonight, as I said, we've got all those topics to talk about, but we want to hear also from our fans and our live listeners who are with us tonight. And to do that, if you're, whoops, I thought I'd had it set up nicely, but it obviously didn't want to work properly for me. Actually, I can probably put this at, let me see, hang on a sec. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so if you're inclined and you want to talk tonight with us, then go to Superman Homepage Live, press the Call Now button, or you can scan the QR code with your fancy phone right there. I'll put it up this way, it's probably a little bit easier. There's a QR code right in the middle of your screen. Scan that QR code with your phone, or as I said, go to supermanhomepage.com/live, and we'll be taking callers probably in the second half of the show tonight, where you can get on, ask any questions you might have a chat to us. But if you're a little bit shy and don't want to get on the phone or talk with us live tonight, then feel free to participate in the comments, both there on YouTube and Facebook. We are live and have a comments section where people who are tuning in, Justin, Kenneth, Nostalgic Pod Blast, John Patrick Van Pelt, all tuning in live, and plenty others about to join us as we go for this hour of talking about Superman. So feel free to participate there. Mark and I can see that feed and react to your comments as the show goes along. And if you're watching on YouTube, then feel free to do a super chat. That is there's a dollar symbol there on your screen. You click on that, a slider will appear on your screen. You decide on the dollar amount you're willing to donate, and we'll feature your comment or question live on the screen during the show as we go along tonight. There are also super stickers and super thanks. And we want to thank our fine sponsors and patrons, those who support the show. Very many thanks to John Patrick Van Pelt, Douglas Meacham, Tina Murray, and who else we have? We've got got a few new ones. So let me get their names up right now so I can make sure I've got them and give them the dues that they are due. So let me see, who have we got? We have Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, Tina Murray, Patrick O'Neill, and C. Ralph Adler. Thank you so much for your support of Superman Homepage and Superman Homepage Live. And if you want to join those fine folks and be a sponsor or patron of the show, then feel free to click the join button on YouTube. There are different levels of membership with different levels of perks. Or you can go to patreon.com/Superman Homepage. All right, well, let's get into tonight's topics. And as I said, big news dropped just before the show went live tonight, which is I'm very grateful for, because as Michael and I have experienced many times over the years, Warner Brothers or DC usually drops some big news right after the show concludes. But this time around, not that they're very much aware of us, I'm sure, but they did it tonight before the show went live. And that is the news about the casting of a new Supergirl. Now, before we get into just who that is, which you probably already know, earlier in the week we had the news that it was down to two. We had heard that it was down to Milly Alcock and Megan, what's her surname? Megan Donnelly.
Millie.
Yes. So Milly Alcock is best known as Princess. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Taja. Anyway, in
Targaryen.
Game, that's the one.
Yeah.
I never watched Game of Thrones, but
I
you're familiar.
I read the first few books and I watched the first few seasons, but that was about it.
Yes.
Kind of give up.
She's very familiar to a lot of people from that TV series. Well, Meg Donnelly starred in the CW's The Winchesters as Mary Campbell, who her father was Tom Welling, the actor, not in real life, in the show. Her father was played by Tom Welling, and she also voices the role of Supergirl in the animated movies Legion of Superheroes and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. So she's very familiar with the DC universe, but sadly she has not won the role. The role has gone to Milly Alcock, and that was announced today and confirmed by James Gunn. So she will be playing Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, in both Superman Legacy and her own upcoming film Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is great news. I'm interested to see just how Supergirl will fit into Superman Legacy. I imagine it might be some kind of like concluding sequence or something towards the end of the film. I don't think that she'll be a big part of the movie, but it will probably be an introduction for her own movie further down the track.
Yeah, I would think so. They already have, I think, enough heroes making an appearance in that movie. So, although if any of those heroes, you think Supergirl would take a more prominent place, but I have a feeling it'll be more of a cameo, just to sort of swing her into her own movie.
Yeah, it'll probably be even a post-credit or mid-credit sequence. You never know. It could be something along those lines, as I said, to kind of give us a cliffhanger towards the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film, which is, as we know, inspired by the Tom King run of comics of the same name. And they already have scriptwriter Anna Nogueira in place writing the script for the film. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how similar to the movie and the comic book. Sorry, how similar the movie is to the comic book, which is behind me. There's the cover for that comic book, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So yeah, what do you think of Milly Alcock in the role?
Well, I'm not familiar with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I only right now I have the two pictures that you've shown. That's how familiar I am with her. But she has she has a look to her, I guess. But so did Meg Donnelly. I wonder if the fact that Meg Donnelly has done some of the voice work had some bearing on the fact that she didn't get the part. That might sound odd, but because a lot of times they don't like to. Sometimes you get a perfect actor who does the voice, and then they're looking for a live action person, and everyone says, "Well, he or she, they'll be perfect. They do the voice, they look great, and they never get the role." I don't have an inside track on that, so I could totally be wrong. But it just kind of occurred to me. But I don't know much about her, but she has that good look about her. So
yeah, like I said, I don't know much about her either, having not watched Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, the spin-off or sequel or prequel or whatever it is that she was in. She obviously has a following and has a recognizable name and following from those shows, but I was hoping for Meg Donnelly because I've seen her in the Winchesters and was familiar with her, and I you go with what you know, but obviously having done the screen tests last week, it fell down to the two of them, and well done to Milly, and congratulations to her for being successfully chosen as the new Supergirl in the upcoming films. And yes, Nostalgic Pod Blast reminds me that Milly is an Aussie, a fellow Australian. So if I'd known that from the very beginning, I probably would have been voting for her from the start. But yeah, that's fantastic. I had no idea until I saw that earlier. And Nostalgic Pod Blast just reminded me that she is an Australian. So that's great news, and I'm very happy for her. We don't yet know any kind of details as far as when Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow will premiere, but we will, as we have some indication, see Milly Alcock as Supergirl in Superman Legacy, which will be released next year in July 2025.
Yeah, just have to wait and see. I'm just like I said. There's a lot of heroes in the movie, and I'm sure I know Superman will be the focus, but I don't want it to be an offshoot for a new Justice League movie, which I know we'll get down the line, but you know, we'll see. We can't
We'll
we
see.
can't really. I can't speculate now. It's
Too early.
way too early.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of Superman Legacy, we do have some other casting news, which is kind of more nearly a week ago. I think it just came on line the announcement before just after our show last week, and that is that they're looking for. Did I mention this last week about the casting of looking for young actors to play 2 to 3 year olds or 6 to 7 year olds with dark brown or black hair to be in a principal role for a feature film for Warner Brothers that will be filming in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm.
Doesn't say Superman Legacy, but to me, that casting announcement sounds very much like Superman Legacy.
They're looking like a very young Clark Kent, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So I don't know how prominent a role it will be. It says if it's a principal role, it could be an opening sequence, could be flashbacks, could be something
mm.
like that, because we do know this is not an origin story. Superman Legacy will not be an origin story. It will be about Clark Kent, Superman in his early days of being a superhero. But it won't be about him, starting, coming to Earth, growing up in Smallville. All of that will not be part of the film as such, but it may be that you do it in some kind of an opening sequence during the credits, or maybe there are flashbacks where Clark thinks back to his early days, but we don't know at this point in time. But it sounds like this is what they're aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, not to compare, but I'm thinking along the lines of Batman '89, which wasn't an origin story, but it
No.
was story. He'd already been somewhat established, but still not everybody knew, and then of course we got the famous flashback of his parents being killed,
Hmm.
and it's possible. I don't know. We haven't heard if Mom and Pa Kent are in this yet, have we?
No, we don't know anything about whether or not there are any Smallville cast members. So yeah, we'll just have to wait to see what happens and how that all plays out. But interesting that they were asking for casting for a young boy. These took place supposedly last week. So Wednesday, January 24th was the cutoff for people to send in photos, date of birth, contact info, and where they were located. But so I'm guessing that kind of process is taking place now, and it'll be interesting to see if anything is announced or if we'll just see it once the movie comes out.
Yep.
All right, so that is what we have for Superman Legacy, but there is another Superman film still in the works, still in development. James Gunn has confirmed that the film by Ta-Nehisi Coates, is being written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and supposedly produced by J.J. Abrams, is still in the works. The Black Superman film, whether that's Superman of a different Earth, whether it's completely different Superman, or whether it's still, as we had heard earlier, Clark Kent, just alternate version of a black Clark Kent Superman. Is it something else? One of the other versions of Superman? Don't know.
Well, originally, no, I think it was Michael B. Jordan who was going to be doing a Velzad.
Correct.
Uh,
So we thought
and,
that was what was happening. We thought it was Val Zod,
right.
but yeah,
Um, yeah, but this is not. This is not that. This is something else that they. And I think he more or less announced he wasn't doing it, and then they came and they announced that they're going to do their own version of Superman, and it was I think it was talked about. Will it be a black Superman? Will it be Clark Kent who's black? Maybe what will be a white. I mean, we didn't really know what this was all about. And then, of course, not too long after James Gunn came on, and then Superman Legacy was announced. So you would think this would just kind of fall by the wayside. But I'm interested to see what they're aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, we know that Elseworlds or those kind of stories are still going to be part of this new universe. So it could be a Calvin Ellis story. You know,
I'd love to.
Yeah, of Superman of another Earth. You know, from the multiverse, who is the president of his country there in that Earth. Or it could be Val Zod, as you say. But it's just interesting to hear from James Gunn whether or not, as Mind the Gap says that, that Mind the Gap says maybe he's just being political and, you know, just kind of covering his backside as far as saying, yeah, these things are still happening, still in development. In development can mean anything, you know, just because something is in development doesn't mean it necessarily comes to fruition. We know that from the many Superman movies that have been in development over the years and then never came to the screen. You know, Superman Lives, Flyby, all those different ones that were in development at different various stages. Even a Justice League movie that was in development and got to, you know, casting and costuming and then never happened. So it doesn't mean that it's still coming out, but if it's still in development and hasn't been cancelled, then there's still a possibility of it being something that we will see down the track. I have a feeling that they might go either the Val Zod or Calvin Ellis route rather than a Black Superman. It just would be too confusing.
I don't think they're going to have another version of Clark. I mean, they could, but I just to think they have another origin version or this time Black Clark Kent, but even so, it's still Clark Kent. And now they're going to have their own Clark Kent and Superman legacy. So I would think they'd probably go another way. You know, Val Zod, you know, Calvin Ellis, or maybe something else altogether. You know,
be interesting to see. But it was just kind of interesting that it was still mentioned as being in development, and that Superman legacy had not killed off that project. So we'll wait and see. Again, another wait and see that we'll just have to do as Superman fans. We seem to be doing a fair bit of that. But nevertheless, another wait and see, but hopefully sooner rather than later, is the news that Warner Brothers is at the forefront of the bidding war for the Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story documentary. By all accounts, its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival was greatly received. There were cheers and tears by many people who had watched this. We had heard that Netflix were in the running and had put in a bid for the rights to stream this or promote it. And now we hear that Warner Brothers is prepared and close to finalizing a deal. Probably already has happened behind the scenes. We don't know. But $15 million US for an exclusive deal to possibly first screen this on CNN, which is owned by Warner Brothers, and then go on to the Max streaming service after that. But great news to hear that this is so well received that it is going to be promoted and finally being able to screen or premiere for the wider public, not just at the film festival in Sundance.
Right. I wonder if it'll have maybe not a wide release, but, come out in theaters for just a bit, before it makes any kind of appearance on, on streaming or cable.
That would be interesting. I'd like to see that happen. I think that would be very well received. We see so many documentaries about people's lives that do make the big screen, and I think Christopher Reeve is deserving of such a release. So we'll wait and see again how this makes the light of day beyond Sundance, but I'm just thrilled and excited to hear that there has been a bidding war, that it is a hotly contested project that we will finally get to see released in a wider form.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, indeed. So, this contains never-before-seen home movies and extraordinary personal archives, revealing how Christopher Reeve went from unknown actor to iconic movie star as obviously Superman, and then learned the true meaning of heroism as an activist after suffering his tragic accident, which left him as a quadriplegic. So, looking forward to Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story. We'll keep you posted at the Superman homepage as to any of the details as to when it will be released anywhere that you'll be able to watch it. All right. So, still on the movie side of things, I did finally get to watch Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. I realise now that I haven't seen some of the previous films, like Justice League War, and what was the one just recent where they went, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman went in...
Oh, that's Warworld.
Warworld. I haven't seen either of those, so yeah, I realised that I was missing out on some backstory there, but nevertheless, still enjoyed this. If you're not a fan of non-linear films, if you like your storylines to go beginning, middle, and end, then this is probably going to trip you up a little bit because it definitely jumps around in multiple places, multiple streams of time, and multiple Earths across the multiverse. It can be confusing at times, but I think all in all, it was pretty well done. It is definitely the Flash that carries this movie, as is rightly so, because the Crisis definitely centers around the Flash, especially in the comic books that this is based on. But I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's an adaptation. It's probably one of the most difficult adaptations of any comic book story that you can do. So I give them props for at least being able to do, what they did. It's not perfect, and there's still 2 more parts to it, but it was entertaining, and yeah, it's a bit confusing, and it's definitely not totally non-linear. It doesn't, I mean, not to say that the Crisis book was, I mean, I guess it was linear, but like you said, you're everywhere with the the multiverse and all of that. But this is totally from one to the other to the other. It gets a bit confusing, but in the end, it at least in this part, it kind of makes sense. So
I think it is hard to judge this one without watching part 2, because this is obviously a setup film. It's setting up a lot of the characters. It's setting up a lot of the crisis. It's setting up the situation, the relationships. I did enjoy when certain superheroes met each other, from different timelines or different versions of Earth. When Dick Grayson met Batman and the Huntress met them as well. There was a nice scene between the 2 Supermen, and yeah, there are elements and parts of the film that resonate, but then there are other parts that you're just hanging on for dear life, trying to figure out where you're at, what's going on, who's who, and it kind of hints towards certain things. You're not sure if that's meant to be important or not. Characters creating their own suits, and you're not sure, are they really a hero? Are they a villain? Like, you just kind of got some questioning kind of moments, but I'm thinking that you've got to judge it all in 3 parts rather than just judging it by part 1 itself.
Right. I mean, if you watch this and you don't really care that much for it, I would still say if you're interested in the story, at least watch the second part because again, it's just it's not standalone, so you really have to see where this is going.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the Crisis, but this is a totally different version, so it's totally worth it, I would think, to wait for part 2.
Yeah, and you are going to be disappointed if you are judging it by the book, because the comic book this deviates quite a bit from the comic book. The whole Amazo thing and the formation of the Justice League and all that kind of stuff is not what you would be familiar with, but it was still touching and still some elements of importance there that I thought were well handled. But all in all, it was quite confusing, and I found myself just a little bit confused at times, but still enjoyed it, and we'll wait for part 2 to be able to judge it better.
Definitely.
Yeah, Justin says he gives it a 5 out of 10 in the comments. I would say that I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, me too. I would say a good 6 out of 10.
yeah, it wouldn't go any higher than that. I wouldn't imagine, not at this point in time. But like as I said, I might change my mind once I've seen part 2 and judge it from a different light. But we'll wait and see where that goes. Now, this is an interesting story. I got contacted by a company called Everest Autographs. They are a autograph signing place where obviously different actors and celebrities participate in autograph signings that you can book to get something signed that's pre-existing, or send in something to get autographed. This time around, they contacted me because it is Kevin Spacey who is back out there now. As you know, he starred as Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. Disappeared for a while because of some controversy around sexual assault allegations. Was recently exonerated or given a not guilty verdict, which has seen him return to the limelight, go back into acting. He's even doing his first comic convention appearance coming up. But this gained a lot of comments on our social media when we announced this. Obviously, still a very polarizing figure.
Very much so. I mean, no one, once you're accused of something like that, I don't know. I don't know what to say except,
yeah. Well, I mean, you're tainted, whether you're guilty or not guilty. You are forever tainted, and people say where there's smoke, there's fire. Guilty or not guilty, people can get paid off. What I don't know. We can't comment. All we can do is report on Superman-related information and put it out there for you. So if you're interested, go to our website. You'll find the link if you are interested to contact Everest Autographs for this particular signing session. But make up your own judgment. Have your own feelings. We're not going to persuade you one way or the other. We will just, as I said, report on the news as it is related to Superman material.
Right.
All right.
See how it goes.
Yeah, see how it goes. Bit of backlash there, but yep. We just report on the news. We don't necessarily condone or deny what's happened. We just report on what's happening. Something that we don't know is if it's happening or not is this idea of Smallville continuing on in some form or fashion. Tom Welling recently participated in another interview with Michael Rosenbaum on his Insider View podcast. Obviously, the two of them are still doing their weekly rewatch of Smallville episodes, so it's not a stretch for them to be talking on Michael's own podcast separate to that Smallville rewatch. But we've heard for the longest time, ever since Smallville ended, we saw the season 11 comic book series, and then we saw Tom Welling and Erica Durant's cameo in the another Crisis crossover on the CW, where he was powerless in Smallville, having decided to give up his powers. And we've heard of a possible animated series continuing on the story of Smallville. And now once again, Michael has asked Tom if he would be interested in maybe doing some kind of a telemovie or something along the lines, continuing on the Smallville story, where are they now type of thing. And he said, sure, it would be fun, but he said, yes, let's hear it. Like, kind of, I'd be asking to hear what the ideas are, but I don't know how it would happen. And I don't know how it would happen now too, because it would be very confusing. I think we kind of got a cap off of the Smallville characters in that scene in the CW crossover, which showed that he had kind of given up his powers and was living happily ever after with Lois and their kids on the Smallville farm. And that was kind of like a farewell nod to that series and those characters.
I think so. I mean, you can come up with a million different ways to have him get his powers back and fight for,
Sure.
But look, I mean, now 13 years, later, he says, yeah, maybe we can see if we can do a TV, a movie or something. And they did mention an animated series, which I actually would have looked forward to if they did something like that. And I think that would actually make a little bit more sense. But I don't know. I mean, I'd watch it. That's for sure. But at this point, I don't know what to say. I mean, is it worth it? Or, like you said, it was kind of a nice cap, in the Crisis special, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know I'll watch it, so regardless.
Exactly. Dinah Guy in the comments says the cameo on the Crisis crossover isn't canon. It makes no sense. It was not written by anyone who worked on the show, which is fair. And as Justin Suarez says, money talks. So if they give him enough of a pay check, anyone can be convinced to do anything. But yeah, like you, I would watch it. And it would be interesting to see what they came up with. It would have to be a pretty good hook to be able to see where things are at, and if any of the other cast members would want to come back. There's always going to be talk, of cameos, and we've seen a lot of those shows, like Full House did Fuller House. What was it? So many of the other shows have done kind of Where Are They Now? So many of the years later.
So many shows have come back. Some have lasted, some haven't. I mean, even the Roseanne show came back, and then she had her scandal, and yet they continued with the Connors, and Kelsey Grammer's doing a new Frasier, and I mean, you can name a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
So it certainly wouldn't be unheard of. And some of these other shows are coming back after 25 years or something. And this has been, now it's 13 by the time they would do it. Who knows how long it would be.
Yeah, really.
But no, it's certainly not unheard of. And, I'm sure we'd all be grateful for it. But I don't know. It's just there's so many, questions that we'll see.
And it wouldn't be a Superman series. Like,
not really.
I cannot see Tom Welling, after all these years, having knocked back the chance to wear the suit back in the day when he was young and fit, now as an older man wanting to be in the Superman costume. That'd be a lot of pressure to get into any kind of fit state. He didn't want to do it then. I don't see him doing it now. It would be a Smallville series, if anything, or a telly movie, kind of where Smallville was at. It wouldn't be a Superman series. I wouldn't think.
The way he looks now, though, I think he has that perfect look for that. Either Superman from Earth 2 or a more Kingdom Come type of Superman. Even though I know Brandon Routh kind of played that part and was great in that. But he has that kind of look that he can play that. But yeah, it wouldn't make sense for him to put on the suit. How would they deal with that? Yeah. Would he go back to having powers and just being the Blur or something? But how would that work?
I don't see that live action. Animated, I think, would be the way to go, but that's just my opinion. All right, well, we're just over the halfway mark of tonight's show. We're going to play a few messages, come back on the flip side to do our This Week in History fan favourite segment, our super secret soundbite, then get into the comic book side of things, as well as some other stuff happening around the world of Superman. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program. Just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman Homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Do you want to start a video podcast but don't know where to start? Or maybe you've been podcasting for a while but you're bored with the traditional audio-only format. Either way, I've got just the thing. Ecamm Live is the #1 choice for busy podcasters who want to easily create professional-looking video podcasts. But why? They're more engaging for your audience, and video keeps their attention, so they're more likely to stick around and become part of your community. Let me show you just how easy it is with Ecamm Live. You can drag and drop graphics right onto your show to make it more professional. And if you have a co-host or guests, bringing them onto your show is a breeze. You can even tweak the look of your guest video no matter where they are. And you can set up your scenes in advance, so when your show starts, you can play your intro and easily switch between your scenes during the show. So it really simplifies your workflow and eliminates the need for a bunch of editing. Plus, your isolated audio tracks are saved right onto your computer along with your high-quality video files. So there's no more waiting for a link to download your files. They're right there. And once you're done, you can upload it to your syndication platform. It's time to give your audience what they really want. So if you're ready to become a visual authority and take your podcast to the next level with video, join the Ecamm fam. Thousands of podcasters have already made the switch. We're just waiting on you.
Head to supermanhomepage.com/ecamm. That's ECAMM.
Faster than a bursting bubble, cleaner than a whistle. It's me, the Soaky Kid, with 2 brand new Soaky Fun Bath characters, Superman and Tennessee Tuxedo.
Tennessee, penguins can't fly.
I happen to be skydiving.
Without a parachute?
I knew I forgot something. Thanks, Superman. Look, 2 brand new Soaky toys.
Great stars, it's me, Superman.
And me, Tennessee Tuxedo. Time to wash up.
Up, and away!
Soaky soaks you clean in
Oceans full of fun.
scrubbly bubbly flippity floppity.
Clean before you're done.
Soaky soaks you clean, and every girl and boy gets a toy. When it's empty, it's a toy.
This picture of the Soaky Kid proves we're real Soaky toys.
And we're back on Superman Homepage Live. Now that's one item I have to add to my collection, is a Soaky toy bottle.
That's a DC Comics Presents team up that they missed.
Yeah, opportunity.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, he's teamed up with Bugs Bunny, with the
True.
what's that? The milk. What's that bunny with the milk?
The not the tricks bunny. You mean the Quick?
Quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Quick. Okay. Chocolate milk.
Yeah, chocolate milk. What else? Who else has he teamed up with over the years that have been out there? There's been a few.
I don't know if that. Not a cartoon character, still.
Yeah.
Kind of. Even though he's a big fan. Yeah. Now he's.
Soaky. So someone, John Patrick Van Pelt's asking, when was this? It's 1965 was the Superman Soaky bottle. So that's the 1960s. It's a poorly videoed TV commercial, but I imagine it looked better when it was actually on TV at the time. So yes, thank you, John, for that super chat question. All right, so let's move into our monthly segment because we are at the final show of January, and it is the Super Secret Soundbite.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
Yes, so the Super Secret Soundbite, this was the sound from last month.
You think I'll stop because someone will talk me out of it?
Yes.
Hello, Clark.
So there you have it. We only had one person guess where it came from. Who was that, Mark?
That was. I'm off here. Oh, that was Patrick O'Neill.
Well done, Patrick. Congratulations, Patrick, for guessing where in the world of Superman that came from. It was obviously the Injustice animated movie. So well done to Patrick. And here is our new Super Secret Soundbite for this coming month. Let's see if more people can guess where in the world of Superman this new sound comes from.
Oh, we're no strangers to aliens in this house. You just make yourself at home.
So, do you think you know where in the world of Superman that sound comes from? If you do, head to supermanhomepage.com. Under the contact menu, you will find the super secret soundbite entry form. Fill out your name, answer the question, and we will read out the names of each person who guesses it right when we return to this segment at the end of February. So get involved with the super secret soundbite. All right, let's jump into the fan favorite segment of our show. All right, so what was our question? Let's see. Our question from last week was, what was your favorite episode of Season 1 of My Adventures with Superman? And we had quite a few people respond to this one. Who was up first, Mark?
Hector Lopez wrote, my favorite episode was episode 6. The gorilla and robot was hilarious. As much as I love Superman, Jimmy Olsen is the star of this season.
Very good. Yeah, I don't know about star of the season, but he was definitely a star of that episode. So Thank you, Hector. That was a good episode. But definitely that one focused very heavily on Jimmy. Next up, we had JP Rocha, who said, my favorite episode of My Adventures with Superman was episode 10, Hearts of the Fathers. Thanksgiving with the Kents and Lanes and Jimmy too. What can go wrong? Yep, and then we had obviously had that very interesting ending of that finale.
Yes.
Well done. Thank you, JP.
And we had Brian Ignatius Pratt wrote, it's extremely difficult to pick a favorite episode of My Adventures with Superman, as I thoroughly enjoy the entire season. In particular, I love the episode Let's Go to Ivo Tower, you say, because of the important development of Lois and Clark's relationship, even though I wish Lois hadn't realized the truth behind Clark's secret so early. Yet I also enjoyed the warm-hearted episode My Adventures with Mad Science, due to the strengthening of the bonds of friendship between Clark, Lois, and Jimmy. Not to mention the hilarious antics of the lovable Monsieur Mala in the brain. But then there is Zero Day Part 2, which is perhaps the most moving episode, especially when all of Metropolis shuts down its power usage to help stop the kaiju-sized parasite. Even the episode's impact, I guess, I would have to select Zero Day Part 2 as my favorite episode of My Adventures with Superman's first season, even though I generally loved the whole series.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. That's a very well thought out episode response. I agree that yes. 0 Day Part 1 and 2, especially the way 2 culminated, was fantastic and one of the best Superman moments in any version of Superman. And I actually mentioned that to Josephine Campbell, who was one of the writers and producers of the series. When we had her as a special guest on this show, I mentioned to her how I thought that was one of the best Superman moments I've ever seen. So thank you, Ryan, for that very well thought out answer. Next up, we have Kenny Crowley Jr., who said, I loved the first season of My Adventures with Superman. I thought the series so far was very well done and reminds me of some of the best episodes of Superman, the animated series from back in the mid to late 90s in terms of the animation style. My favorite episode, top 3, were episode 1, Adventures of a Normal Man, episode 3, my interview with Superman, and the final season episode, Hearts of the Fathers. Super, can't wait for season 2 of this great series. Thanks, Steve, and everyone at the Superman homepage for all you guys do. And up and away, we're all part of the same team. Very good. Thank you very much, Kenny. Some great moments there in some of those episodes. So well done. We also had another response from, just get rid of that image in the background there. For last week's question, Samuel Sadowski wrote in about the Jim Lee question we asked in the previous week. He said, I love this depiction of Superman drawn by Jim Lee. There is no dialogue. The picture says it all. Perhaps the priest hears the cape flapping over his shoulder and he turns to see Superman floating there, and it literally takes his breath away. No dialogue needed. Not to mention a beautiful combination of soft and hard shadows and lighting, and he added in lens flare. The way Superman is backlit with some side lighting as filler, just beautiful. So thank you, Samuel, for that question. That was from last week's fan favorites question. But Mark, you and I both, having talked before the episode tonight,
yes,
both love the Mxyzptlk episode, which, I mean, everybody knows on this show, if you've been listening for any length of time, that Mr. Mxyzptlk is my favorite Superman villain. I would struggle to call him a villain because, although in this series, definitely villainous, in the
Yes.
the way he plays Superman. But I was very impressed with this version of Mixie. Loved it. Loved the way that they brought in the bowler hat. Made it an important element because a lot of people were going, "Where's the bowler hat?" when they saw this image, but it played well into the story, and I believe that you liked this episode as well.
Yes, I did. I liked it a lot. I mean, the look is obviously not even close to any version of Mixie that we're familiar with, but just the characterization was the same. It definitely was. Mixes Pidalick. I mean, that's beyond a doubt. And again, the bowler hat, that whole thing, that was great.
Yeah, it played in nicely.
So I really enjoyed this. That was a real highlight for me.
Yeah, indeed. Mind the Gap in the comments says maybe Hearts of the Fathers. So that was definitely a great episode, the finale. And looking forward to season 2. We don't know yet when that will air, but we thank everyone for sending in their responses to this week's fan favorite question. Mark, what is our new question for this week?
Who is your favorite Perry White actor?
Yep, and that can be voice or live action, from animation, whatever, TV, movies, whatever you like. Who is your favorite Perry White actor? Get involved in what I should call it, the fan favorite segment of our show. info@supermanhomepage.com is the email address there at the bottom of your screen that you should send your responses to. We will read out and show some images of the answers that we received when we return to this segment next week. info@supermanhomepage.com to let us know who your favorite Perry White actor is. Get involved in the fan favorite segment of our show. We do have a guest caller waiting to join us tonight, so I'm going to bring in Chance Bartels right now, better known as the Nostalgic Pod Blast, in the comments. Welcome, Chance. On a bit of a delay, but welcome, Chance.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, no, not again. I can't hear you. I just wanted to say Mark is doing a fantastic job filling in for Michael Bailey.
Thank you very much.
And that's all I want to say. I can't hear you, so I'll hang up. I don't want to ruin a great show. But, Mark, I've really enjoyed your time as a co-host. That's all I had to say.
I greatly appreciate I greatly appreciate that. See, now I messed up,
Yeah, there you go. No, see, you give someone a compliment and it makes them all nervous. But thank you, Chance. Really appreciate that. He couldn't hear us, so I don't know why. But he's obviously listening now as he goes back to his live watching. So thank you, Chance.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I have to agree with him. Mark, totally agree. Loving having you as a co-host in place of Michael while he is relocating. So thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Well, let's continue on. Speaking of Michael, I try to fill his shoes once again poorly by doing This Week in History.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bubble of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
All right, so let me see how I go once again, trying to bring up images and click on information. So we start with This Week in History, jumping all the way back to, where we go, 1944. So all this way back, this week, January 1944, we saw World's Finest number 13. And in this particular story, the Superman issue, the Superman story was The Freedom of the Press. And that was the only Superman story in there. And once again, we have a quirky Batman, Superman, and Robin cover. Fight paper waste and hang one on the paper hanger of Berlin. Okay, obviously a wartime cover there.
Yes, definitely with the papers and yeah.
There you go. All right, so jumping ahead to 1954. We saw Action Comics 190 released this week in 1954, and that was The Boy Who Saved Superman was the Superman story in this particular issue, and I don't know what's happening there, but some young kid is, don't worry Superman, I'll have you out of that quicksand in a jiffy.
Yeah.
Okay, couldn't just fly out.
He could.
I guess not. Then we jump another decade forward to 1964. In January 1964, we saw the release of Action Comics 310, which saw 2 stories in this issue, Secret of Kryptonite 6 and Supergirl's Rival Parents. Kryptonite 6.
Yeah, I'm trying to read. It doesn't say. I'm assuming is that Jack Sir in the Phantom Zone? Is that?
Let me see what it says here. It says, Jimmy, when you publish this photograph, be sure to tell your readers there are only 5 types of kryptonite in existence. Superman doesn't know that his best pal Jimmy Olsen is about to expose him to the new dual kryptonite, the most fantastic type of them all. So can't tell if that's Lex or.
Well, it looks like Lex, but I don't know. It almost looks like a Phantom Zone because they were always looking in.
Yeah, they are.
In the 50s and 60s mainly. Well, 70s too, I guess. But at this point, they're all you'd always see them looking in. So
yeah, exactly. Also in 1964, we saw Adventure Comics number 318, The Mutiny of the Legionnaires, and the backup story was a Superboy one called The Amazing Adventures of Crypto Mouse. Crypto Mouse.
Crypto Mouse.
There you go.
Kryptonite Mouse, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Mighty Mouse kind of spin-off. Who knows?
Yeah.
Also in 1964, we saw World's Finest Comics number 140. This was the Superman-Batman story, and this was the Clayface Superman. There you go.
That looks bizarre, but I wonder how... Well, I was just wondering how that would work out.
Exactly. All right, then we jump to 1974, where Action Comics 434 came out this week in January 1974. The Superman story in this was the Krypton Connection, a very famous, much replicated comic book cover right there.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Even Superman can't avoid the dentist. I guess that's one of his other weaknesses, the dentist.
One of my weaknesses. I hate the dentist. I was there last week.
Me too.
One of my heights, no problem. Speaking in public, not a problem. Dentist, forget about it.
You got it. I agree 100%.
Okay. So then we jump into 2004. This week in January 2004, we saw JLA number 92, which has the story called The Lesson. Apes of Wrath on the cover there. Superman does. Yeah, there he is in the cover. It just around the head of the ape.
Yeah.
Don't remember this one, but the cover looks familiar. So there you have it. Also in 2004, this week in January, we saw the release of Superman number 201, Strange New Visitor Part 3. We saw last week the cover of Mr. Majestic, and there he is replicating the Action Comics number 1 image.
Yes, and that's Ed McGuinness, right?
Correct. That's Ed McGuinness cover.
Yes.
So very interesting replica of Action Comics number 1. Also in 2004, we saw Superman Metropolis number 12. This was You Are Now Leaving the City of Tomorrow was the title of that one, written by Chuck Austen. Not sure if this was the final issue of this series or if it was more than 12-issue miniseries.
I think it was only 12 from what I remember.
So that was this week in 2004. Jumping ahead to 10 years ago, 2014, we saw The Adventures of Superman number 9 with Bizarro on the cover there. This was Flowers for Bizarro, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 were within this comic book issue. Yes, always good to see Bizarro.
That was the digital series, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. No, Adventures of Superman, was it digital? No, I don't think so. I think you're thinking of Superman Adventures.
Okay. No, because they had... there wasn't Adventures of Superman digital. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
It's priced
but
at
again, yes,
$3.99,
it's good to see Bizarro.
Yeah, always good to see Bizarro. Then also this week in January 2014, we saw All-Star Western number 7, which saw Jonah Hex and Superman on the cover there. The Unforgiving Truth was the name of the story, but Man of Yesterday is on the cover. New 52 era.
Yes, that's a good cover. Do we know who?
The doesn't say here in my information who did the cover, but the artists were Justin Norman and Rob Lee was a letterer, so it could be a Justin Norman cover, not sure, but written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, the story inside. Also this week, 2014, saw the release of Smallville Season 11 Special Number 4. Titans was the story within this one. And then also this week in 2014, January, saw the release of Superman number 27. Feeding Frenzy was the story within, and Parasite on the cover there. Story written by Scott Lobdell with art by Ed Beans.
Not necessarily one of the better eras, even creatively for Superman.
Indeed. World's Finest Annual number 1 also came out this week in 2014. The Adventures of Robin and Supergirl. So Supergirl there on the cover of a different type of World's Finest issue. And then in the real world, this week we see the birthday of Justin Hartley, who was born on, I'll just get the information quickly, I've got it in my notes there. Justin Hartley was born this week, January 29th. He played Oliver Queen in Smallville, obviously. Born in Knoxville, Illinois in 1977. Also this week, celebrating his... what would it be? He was born in 1930. Gene Hackman, who played Lex Luthor, obviously, in the Superman films. Born in San Bernardino, California in 1930, which would make him 94?
4, wow.
So that's impressive. So happy birthday to Gene Hackman, January 30th, tomorrow, his birthday. And also Stuart Whitman, who played Jonathan Kent in the Superboy TV series, was born in San Francisco, California in 1928. Sadly, he is no longer with us, but he was born on February 1st, 1928. So that was this week in history. It's not too many birthdays, not too many anniversaries, but that's an impressive one. Gene Hackman, 94.
Yeah, very much so.
Mind the Gap also reminds us that Justin Hartley also voiced Superman in the Injustice movie. Not just Green Arrow on Smallville, but also the voice of Superman. So Mind the Gap also says that, you probably were right. Adventures of Superman was a digital first series.
Yeah, I remember. I think buying it off of the then Comixology app.
Yep.
Because I know it was because it was not involved with the New 52.
No, but we should get into this week's comic books before we finish up this episode tonight. And we do have quite a few. We've got Batman, Superman, World's Finest, annual 2024 annual. And that's available in a number of different covers. We've also got DC Power 2024 one-shot. That is available in a number of different variant covers. We've also got DC Power Girl Uncovered one-shot, and that's also available in a numerous amount of variant covers. And then Titans Beast World number 6 is out this week. It also comes in a number of variant covers. And then also out this week is Trinity Special number 1. And I don't know if Superboy, I think John Kent is in the story, but Superman is there on the cover. I assume that's Kal-El, Clark Kent, Superman. So that's what's out this week in comic books. That's pretty much all we have time for tonight's episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of Superman Homepage Live. Be sure to check out some Superman Homepage retrospectives, one by Neil Bailey, up on our website now, and there's another one coming as we celebrate our 30th year online. But thank you everyone for tuning in live to this week's episode of Superman Homepage Live. Thank you to my co-host Mark Lax. Thank you, Mark. Michael Bailey. Mark Bailey.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, Tina Murray, and I'm forgetting the other guys. I always forget that. I'll promise to make sure all your names are ready on my list each week from now on. Thank you for your support. Tina Murray, John Patrick Van Pelt, Patrick O'Neill, C. Ralph Adler. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the show. We'll be back next week on Monday, February 5th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time for another edition of Superman Homepage Live. Hope you'll join us then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Mark Lax. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.